make a playlist for today. Don't even worry about it. Yay. Welcome, everybody. Yay, I'm so glad to see all of your faces. Yay, welcome. Hi, Diane. Eating. Cool. Well, we'll get started. Did you guys have a chance to check out the Chesty booth outside? Awesome, cool stuff. And if you are interested and you didn't put your name in that white bag over there, we are raffling off a free bra for someone today. So make sure you put your name in there and put it in the bag. So cool, we'll get started. Hi everyone. I'm Tessie. Super excited to do this. DSO, we had like a coaches meeting a couple weeks ago, and DSO had gotten some feedback from some of the ladies that were in my Fit Outside the Box PCFU class, which I know Hala's here. Where is she? Hala. Holly's here. Well, Hala is here too. I just don't know where she is right now.
She's over there.
Oh, okay. She'll be back. But yeah, it was a really fun class. That was like a 7-week thing that we did. We worked on like lifestyle habits and the mind-body nutrition stuff. So I'm a certified eating psychology coach and a mind-body nutrition coach. So it's a bit of this, what I call like a feminine approach to fitness and wellness. And there's nothing wrong with like the hardline goals that we have. Like I'm gonna, lose weight. I'm gonna eat this, not that, and all of that. But that's a very masculine approach, and it doesn't always turn out to be sustainable, right? So we're gonna learn a little bit about that feminine approach today, and how that works in our favor as women. And we're kind of gonna be working through 4 sections. So you guys should have a handout. I know not everyone has the last page, which is some journaling questions that we'll do. So you can kind of look at someone else's questions, and you'll be able to write down your answers for those when we get to that. But the 4 sections, we're gonna go through CrossFit Mythbusters, how to set sustainable fitness goals, mind-body nutrition concepts, and building positive body image. So it's gonna be like, I want this to be like a conversation, like super chill. If you guys have questions along the way, feel free to ask. I'll try and leave a little time at the end. I know we didn't start right at 11:30. I'll try and leave a little time at the end for question and answer. And this is, it's gonna be kind of like, did anyone see Matt's like do-it-yourself nutrition thing on YouTube? Yeah, love that. So it's gonna be kind of like that. We'll put this on YouTube, but I also want this to be like, if someone has a question that they want to ask and they don't want that to go on YouTube, like we'll take any vulnerable moments like that into consideration. So, just know that we're, not gonna blast that out if that comes up. And feel free to have this as like a safe space to just speak your mind. All right, so the thing, as far as like what I've learned in my studies, and I think what we can all relate to as women, is a lot of times there's like an image that we feel we have to uphold and fit into a certain body type or fit into a certain level of fitness or whatever that looks like, to the point where it's really like tempting and common that we'll fall into these certain statistics that are, to me, like really alarming. Like 90% of women claim to be unhappy with their bodies. So that means like, maybe a handful of us in here, if we fit that statistic, would say, yes, I'm 100% happy with my body. And not that it's about, I don't think it's about, as humans, being 100% happy with ourselves all the time, but it's about, on a day-to-day basis, do you have like more negative thoughts than positive thoughts? Over 50% of women are on a diet at any given time. Weight loss and diet make up a $67 billion per year industry. And with that much money, over 90% of diets fail, right? So who's ever like tried to reach a goal or had like a New Year's resolution that just like didn't work, didn't turn out, right? Yeah. Yeah. So it's there's something happening there that's like, if it would have worked, it would have worked by now, right? If the new hot diet would have worked, it would have worked. Like, why am I not fixed a year later? So that failure point, it usually happens like within that year. You gain the weight back plus some, or you fall out of the habit because you like went too hard. It wasn't a sustainable thing to practice. And then the one, like, just I think because of the culture and the media and everything, is sometimes girls as young as the age of 4 are saying they're on a diet, and that just needs to change. So I'll talk a little bit about my story. First, I want to just take a little inventory. Who's not an athlete here at Paradiso? Awesome. So just share a little bit, like, where you're from, or like how you found out about this. Amanda? Yeah, SpeedX. This is my boyfriend over there, Bruce, and he coaches them at SpeedX. Awesome. Cool. Who else found out about this? Yeah.
My mom was like, come to a women's seminar with me today, so here I am.
Nice. And you just graduated college, right?
Yes.
Nice. Woo, congratulations. You're in the real world now, sister. Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm so glad that, you guys were able to come. So how we doing? We good? Okay. So I got into like being passionate about helping women in this way, like have a very empowering approach with body, food, and fitness. It was like a few years in the making, but it stems from like one particular story where about 6 years ago I did a bodybuilding competition, and I was in Colorado. I had been like a cheerleader in college and a gymnast, an athlete since I was 4. So I'd literally for 20 years of my life through college had a coach, been on a team, like been super athletic, and like that was what I knew for fitness. And then what I call was my quarter life crisis. I'd always been told like, oh, you have like the shape to do bodybuilding. So I hired coaches. I did the figure category where you're still like feminine shaped, but like still super lean. And because I was like, oh, this feels good again. Like I have coaches, I have someone telling me what to do, and I was totally into it. I for me personally, ignored all the red flags that I'm gonna share with you guys that kind of like happened along the way. So the first one was I decided I was gonna do it. It was about this time of year. My show was in October. And I got on the phone and was telling my best, like really close friend who had struggled with bulimia and anorexia and had gone to treatment for it. And she was like livid. She's like, Tessie, what are you doing? Like knowing what I've been through, what are you doing? And I was like, I never really struggled with that. So like, I think I have my head on straight. I think I won't get like obsessed or let it take me over. So kind of like, ignored that, didn't talk to that. She did not talk to me for the whole 5 months that I was training. Like she needed to protect herself and whatever, respected that. And like got into the training, and then I was, running an hour a day, like losing 4 pounds a week. And I was like maybe a little heavier, thicker than I am now when I started, and I lost like 20 pounds. So it was very extreme. I got to the point where I was scared to eat a piece of gum because it had 5 calories. And I would have to go like burn it off. I got to the point where I was judging other people for like eating processed food, which, I mean, of course, processed food isn't the best to eat, but like I was judgmental about it, I was like, well, I eat, 7 pieces of chicken a day. Like I was there, I went there. I had, it was a slippery slope, and I kind of got there. So what ended up happening is, I was also on like thermogenics and caffeine pills, and I have a heart condition. That was another red flag. Like I was taking stuff I never should have been taking. And the tricky part is I won the entire show. So instead of having what is a healthy, sustainable approach to health and fitness, which is the point of the story, that's what I later found in CrossFit, is I went on stage looking like nothing like I do now. Didn't have my period, was not healthy, but I won. I won the show, and I was told, I was validated that I was doing something right. I was judged as healthy. I was judged as pretty. I was judged as fit. It was a fitness competition. and I wasn't healthy. My coaches had like a family emergency, didn't know how to help me get off my diet. So I was like, my body was in a physiological starvation mode. I was binging on like cookie dough and fats, and like I got sick, like not purposely, but I would get sick from that. I like, gained water weight and like just got super depressed and started Googling, like apparently that happens to a lot of people after fitness shows, and it just got me in this mode of like, like that's not what I want to, define as my health anymore. And then when I was training, I coached in a cheerleading gym, and out of the corner of the gym they ran CrossFit, and this was like 6 or 7 years ago. So I was like, what are they doing lifting each other up over there? And I remember the guy always told me, he's like, you would love CrossFit, you would love CrossFit. And I didn't start it till I got here in LA, but that was like kind of when I was in that transitionary period of like, okay, I still want this, what I'm drawn to as fitness is that kind of, sport type of thing. I want coaches again, so I found CrossFit, and I experienced that it was more about function, it was more about longevity, it was more about just comparing me to me, empowerment, community, energy, confidence. So for anyone does anyone here currently not do CrossFit? Or like, you guys do CrossFit-ish, but yeah, or interested in it. So for anyone here that does CrossFit, have you experienced any of these in class? Any of these words? Yeah. And that's what I love. And we still have our things in CrossFit of like, getting fit for the beach, and like it's a little bit about what you look like, which is fine, because even Diso said the other day, it's a bit of a like evolutionary kind of genetic calling for us to like want to, it's like survival of the fittest. Like I think there's an innate reason why we want to look our best. We want to attract a mate. We do want to have an aspect of like physical beauty to us, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just, how has our culture gotten to a point where it's becomes to where now it's not health. It becomes, depriving ourselves and hating what we look like. Even if we get as fit as our body could be, it's still like, if we don't look a certain way, we're not happy. So I think CrossFit does a good job. So the positive experience was my experience when I started CrossFit. You guys can take notes too. So this is we're in our first section, CrossFit Mythbusters. So not everyone has that positive experience when they're about to start CrossFit. They might be scared to start CrossFit because they hear certain myths. What are some of the myths that you've heard about CrossFit? Gonna get injured? Oh, it's a cult? I didn't put that one on here. I didn't put that one on there because we can't tell them on YouTube that it is. No. You're gonna get bulky? Yeah. Any other ones you guys can think of? Get too big. Look like a man. Like, yeah. So I think we have them. I'm gonna get bulky. Oh, I might get hurt. I have to be competitive. I have to WOD every day. Oh, I have to eat paleo. Yep, like cult or religion. Yeah. Everything's a religion. No matter what and not in a bad way. It's like just whatever your lifestyle is your beliefs, your religion. Might as well own it. There's more to us than just CrossFit. So we're gonna just kind of work through a few of these myths, whether you've kind of heard them spelled out and answered or not. Hi, Emily. Hi, come on in. Bruce can help you find a seat if you want.
I can take my dog outside.
Okay. No worries. All right, so oftentimes we'll still see like in the magazines or even just in conversation of like, oh, how do I get more toned? How do I lose weight? And the answer is, lightweight, high reps, right? Just like in the magazines where you see like the 3-pound like pictures of women like doing their tricep curls. So is there an aspect of like, if you're maybe pretty sedentary and you don't really work out, you start doing some lightweight and high reps, like might you lose weight? Sure. Like your body usually has a bit of a set point, which you guys have maybe heard of, like a weight range that it's happy at. So, you know, I'm all about like, if there's something in our life, something that's changed with us hormonally, possibly something that's changed like even in something that's changed where we're not working out as much as we think, you know, maybe our body would like to or whatever, we'll gain weight that's outside of our set point, right? So there is that aspect of like, we're going to talk about this later too, body wisdom. There's a difference between thinking like, I think my body would be happier like a few pounds less, or like what I call shape shifting. I don't really call it weight loss. But like that's when you know, maybe set some goals with your fitness but at the same time, if what the bigger goal or like thing that we can be paying attention to is like just looking at our habits. Like, hey, am I even just moving, working out 3 to 5 times a week? Am I, you know, do I feel like I eat pretty healthy for what I know is healthy 80% of the time? And it's like, you know, if you're doing that, that's a like sustainable way of life. So there's also an aspect of like accepting our bodies where it's at, right? And seeing them as beautiful where they are. So the lightweight high reps is false. Long term is false. You're not gonna build strength. You will build muscle endurance, muscular endurance, right? Being able to like run for an hour. That's like cardiovascular and muscular endurance, but it's not like power, and it's not going to build like the strength and tone of the muscles that you already have. So things that do that are like low reps and heavyweight. Think of when you're doing like a 5x5 squat. Anything super heavy that's usually like 1 to 8 reps is building strength, and it's building the force production. So it's not building mass in a way where you're actually able to recruit muscles you already have if you're doing like a max squat or like a 3-rep squat or something. And then the high reps mid to heavyweight, meaning like 80% or something of what you could do, and you're doing a lot of reps, you will build some size, right? And I mean, that's where I think, because CrossFit, sometimes that's our workout, you know? So I'm not saying like, you know, go to class and be like, well, I only need to do like high weight and low reps. Like the great thing about, if you guys go to Paradiso in general, like we have amazing programming. So that's the cool thing about CrossFit, is you can kind of trust the programming. But if you want to mix things up a little bit and you think this could be, you know, something that will get you better results, you can take it into consideration. You can ask a coach how you can implement it more. But think of like the high reps, mid to heavy mass. That's like how the regionals athletes are training right now. Like Chelsea and Dot, if you guys have seen around, and Lauren, like they're beefed up, but that's their goal. They need to like, they're putting on size because they like need to. And I mean, they're still super lean, super fit, and like that's their goal, right? This one, I might get hurt. The other thing, like you can look it up in the CrossFit Journal, when we go get our level 1, I have my level 2 coaching cert too, they go over literally this step. Like it's written out, that whole like, oh, people get hurt in CrossFit, people get hurt in CrossFit. It's because they go to intensity before they work on form and function. Right, so as women, we're a little better at this because we listen. We don't have as big of an ego. But it's still about, you know, taking those skills at your own pace. So the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna watch mechanics. We're gonna watch, this is how you know you're being coached well. We're gonna watch, hey, are you getting full range of motion? Are you getting consistent with this motion? And then we're gonna add speed, then we're gonna add volume, then we're gonna add weight. That's how we add intensity. So the I might get hurt, it's like, yeah, and you might get hurt crossing the street too. So it is about being smart when you're getting into it, but it's definitely a myth that can be busted. And then kind of along this one, like I have to WOD every day or be competitive. Did anyone have those thoughts when they started CrossFit? If I raise a hand, or like, think like, oh, well, that means I have to like go to the CrossFit Games, which the one thing I'll say, if it is your goal to, the one thing I'll say is, it's like, if it is your goal to like compete in a CrossFit competition, it is like, it's a really fun experience, and like you might surprise yourself that like you could really get there. There's especially during the summer, there's competitions all the time. People gather in the gym, they'll do team competitions. There's scaled options at competitions. So like if that's your jam, you actually can be competitive in CrossFit and, you know, not necessarily be a games athlete. And then I have to WOD every day. You can, if you're going from not like moving a lot, you can always see changes in your body, in your energy, in your endurance, in your muscles, with just working out 3 times a week. Question.
Yeah. Would you say that CrossFit builds strength and endurance? Like, is it possible to do both?
Yes. In fact, a lot of endurance athletes, like triathletes and marathon runners, will actually start peppering in CrossFit as a way to enhance their endurance. Because this is actually where the Tabata workout comes from. You guys know Tabata, where you work for 20 seconds, rest for 10, the like high intensity with a short rest. So quick tangent. So the Tabata test was, they took like 2 groups of endurance athletes, and they had one training Tabata, like super high intensity for 20 seconds, rest for only 10 seconds, whether it was running or whatever they did. The other endurance athletes, like long distance athletes, they just trained long distance. So they were doing like 5 to 10 mile runs. At the end of the study, they had both groups test a long distance run, and the Tabata group did better, right? And they weren't even training long distance. So does that answer your question? Yeah, so it definitely helps. All right. Does anyone have any other questions on this part? Cool. So and this is all with the caveat that we all have bio-individuality, which means one person might do lightweight and high reps, and they might lose weight and get toned. And one person might do low reps and heavy weight, and they might bulk up like Schwarzenegger. So it's all to say that like, every body is different. It can be about experimentation with your programming and this, that, and the other. But that's something that's also not told to us by science, is that we're all just like our metabolism, our genetics, it's all a factor. So plays a role with like diet and exercise as well. So the next part, you guys are gonna there should be a sheet that you have at the very back that has some questions on it. Not everyone has it. If you don't have it, you can share with a friend. So raise your hand if you have the sheet with like some journaling questions. And then if you don't have it, fine, sit next to someone with their hand raised. Yeah. So we're gonna take just about 5 minutes here, because we're gonna go into the goal setting, we're gonna go into the mind, body, nutrition stuff. So I want you guys to just take about 5 minutes, take some inventory of, if you've been in my class, you might have answered some of these questions before. But at the bottom one is, what do you wanna get out of today? If you wanna also put there one of your current like fitness goals, you can do that as well. Yes, I will grab more pens. So we'll take just about 5 minutes here. Want to share what came up for you? Laura?
When I was a kid, my mom told me once, like I swear, I think it was just once, she called me a big ox. And it stuck with me. And I've never really had weight issues. I've been really lucky. But as I get older and I start putting on weight, it's like I feel like a big ox. And so I'm hoping that I can change that negative to like a positive body image. So who wants to feel like a freaking ox?
On the one hand, ox are strong. Is it oxen? Is that the plural? Right? But yeah, well, and that's the one thing I was also going to share about the like, oh, I don't want to like get bulky or whatever. It's like, what if we just ask, like, who said bulky is not still pretty or can't still be beautiful? I was talking about this a little, like, once we start to get that muscle tone. I had a guy in high school once tell me he wouldn't date me because my arms were bigger than his. And it's right, and yeah, and it's like at the time, like, right, you know, especially when we're younger, it's like we don't know what to do with that besides like kind of subconsciously react to it and
Stuff it away. It pops up.
in the worst moment ever. Yeah. But what I would say to you, we're gonna have some practices for you today, which will definitely help with that, because it really is just that. It's not an overnight thing. It's just a practice of like reaffirming, you know, yourself and that you're still taking care of yourself, like Helene was sharing. So I could definitely see how would stick with you. Anyone else? Marcel.
I realized that I forgot about some of the dieting failures because I've been doing this for a good 8 months now, and I realized like what's sustainable, and I kind of forgot about when I like struggled and like dropped the calories really low, and I was like, oh, because you realize how comfortable you are, you're like, let's get that crap out, like let's forget those giant failures because you couldn't make it last.
Yeah.
It was just like refreshing to realize. I'm like, oh, okay, I realized like this is a good spot, and like this is how you maintain it, and you don't have to remember all the times that it didn't work out because you'll find the spot that works.
Yeah. 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 So almost reflecting on like, oh wow, I did have this. A lot of people have like that, like a yo-yo dieting, or like you just kind of find yourself like, okay, this is the next thing. This is the thing. This is the one for me, or whatever. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
no. So
Well, it just like points out how unbelievably clueless like I was.
yeah.
That's what it was brought to my attention compared to what I know now. I was like, wow. I
Yeah.
had no idea what was even right for me to be healthier.
Yeah. What would you say has helped you discover what is right for you, or what feels maintainable?
I think, I don't know. I think it's just been being around people who understand what a healthy environment is and learning what they do, because like learning from others has always been what makes me learn a lot better.
Yeah.
So because you go online and you start reading things and you're like, oh my God.
You'll read
everyone has opinions.
scientific article number 1 contradicting scientific article number 2.
So you're always so confused, but
Yeah.
sometimes you're like, let's shut that out of the way. Let's go to the people I physically see around me.
Yep.
who are successful.
Yeah, the people you see, and again, going back to that, another thing we're going to talk about today, but I'm just going to mention it now because it's coming up, is like body wisdom. So like being able to, when you're like even mindfully eating, and I had, you know, one client who she just started to kind of journal about how she physically felt after eating dairy or after having, you know, sugar or whatever, and that it became more of a, not like a, I'm cutting this out because it's bad for me, and more of a, oh, I'm choosing to limit this because I feel better when I don't have it. Doesn't mean that it's like, maybe depending on your personality, doesn't mean it's completely gone, but finding that maintainable and choosing from an empowered place as opposed to like a self beat up place. So yeah. Anyone else want to share? Yes, Lindsay.
So I don't go to female doctors, but in high school when I played soccer and was a cheerleader and probably the fittest I've ever been, I had a doctor tell me that I was obese. So it's a reason why I don't go to female doctors anymore. But yeah, it was when I was like an athlete and actually the most in shape I've ever been, and had muscle and like even six-pack abs, which I'll probably never have again, but
So you had 6-pack abs and you had a doctor tell you were
were
obese?
like thick and muscular, and
Yeah.
when I was a soccer player and cheerleading, and
Yeah.
literally probably like the lowest body fat I've ever had.
Yeah.
And told me I was obese, and I remember my mom sitting there too, just
Like,
staring
what?
at her.
Yeah.
I remember bawling. But yeah, I remember I remember it too because I was talking about it with Lindsay the other day, and I was like, everybody's talking about it reminded me like, because I tried not to make it up.
Yeah. So that's a powerful experience for you to go back to and be like even just looking at the situation, and this goes for everything, like that just, it in a sense like wasn't true, even if it was true, because I'll tell you the other thing, again, I think it's in here later, but I'm going to say it now. There are studies that say what doctors and medicine categorizes as obese. There are people that live longer than their skinnier counterparts, because our health is not just our BMI or the calories or the weight that we are. it's a whole bunch of encompassing factors. So even if it were the thing where it's like someone's obese, that oddly enough doesn't even mean they're unhealthy. Like, yeah, it might, but it also might mean the skinny person that smokes is also unhealthy, you know? Like, we just judge it by things. But I think an invitation I have for you that would be really possibly empowering, one would be to do a little like exercise just to yourself where you really like go into that experience and like practice forgiving that doctor, because honestly it was probably some catty thing that she had against like women or whatever was going on with her personally. Honestly, that's kind of what I think might have happened, and she didn't know that she was putting that mark on a teenage girl that now probably years and years and years later has still affected you or still comes up to you as a negative memory. So allow yourself to like forgive whatever was going on with her and go to a female doctor. And I bet if you go to a female doctor and you share that experience that you had, because all of us in this room, what was our experience to that? Oh, she told you what? And it's like, yeah, people say things that like they might not even in the moment intend to hurt us, or like even if you guys like wrote on your paper in your environment when you were little, some mom-dad stuff that's like they were just doing the best they could. They didn't mean for us to feel bad about ourselves or something, but maybe something they said did. Practice a little like forgiveness exercise. Oftentimes as women, our relationship to food and body mirrors our relationship to our mother, and mirrors our relationship to life. So whether it's, sorry, perfect opportunity. But it could. Maybe it's like an all or nothing type of relationship with like you can kind of think how that relates to you. And it could be the positive things or the things you want to work on, whatever that is. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah.